Today, you are all going to be participating in a bookish trust exercise. I'm going to be telling you about these books, and I'm not going to tell you a thing about their plot, but I want you to read them anyway. These are all books that I think you should go in blind, not knowing absolutely anything about the plots, and you just have to trust me that they're going to be great and that you're going to enjoy them. You might not. That's just going to be part of the exercise. There are so many books that I mention on my channel that I have talked about so many times where I want to tell you about them, but I don't want to tell you too much about them. I want you to go in not knowing too much. And today I'm going to highlight a bunch of books that I feel that way about. Anyway, I don't think I said hello yet. Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here today. If you guys like this idea, then definitely let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and commenting down below maybe some books that you would recommend people read without looking up the plot beforehand. Please leave those comments down below and I will let you know my list. The first one is one that I have always said this about, that I think that you should read it without knowing anything, and I will forever stand by this, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I love going into Ishiguro's books not knowing much because I always like being pleasantly surprised, and especially because with his type of storytelling, I feel like all of his books are very different. They all have very interesting concepts, and you never really know what to expect. And I feel like that's really exciting, especially this story. It's a very unique world. Now I'm starting to tell you what it's about, but it's very unique, and I think you shouldn't know anything before reading it. I think it's so exciting to read it and decipher what's going on as you continue to read. His writing is incredible. He's one of my favorite authors. I have all of his books. I just ordered his newest book, which seems really exciting, and I think I might do a whole video dedicated to reading it. Anyway, this isn't about that book, but I think you should read Never Let Me Go. It is one of my favorite books of absolutely all time. It made me sob uncontrollably. Like, I think this is the book that has made me cry the most. And I think you should not know why until you read it, and then you will cry as well. My next choice is actually a series of 4 books. It is a quartet, and that is The Giver by Lois Lowry. So the first book is The Giver, and then the second book is Gathering Blue, the third book is Messenger, and the final 4th book is called Sun. And a lot of us, if you are American, you probably read The Giver in middle school, and that's when I first read it, and I really fell in love with it, and then I read it again after school around, I want to say like my first year of college or something, and I fell in love with it, and I read the whole series. I didn't realize it was one of 4 books. This series is so incredible. It's surprising. It's interesting to discover what's going on because this world is unlike our world. The Giver is known for being a dystopian, and so following the characters and kind of what's going on is very interesting. They all have like their separate characters and plot lines, but then they all kind of come together in the last book. That's all I will tell you. It is incredible. It's one of my favorite series of all time. The Giver is one of my favorite books of all time. It's one of the books that made me fall in love with reading so much, and I feel like this series doesn't get enough love, so that's why I am putting it in this video as well, because I think more people need to not only read The Giver, but the entire series. And if you have, please comment down below and let me know, because I desperately want to talk to people about this series. I also desperately want to reread it. It has been far too long since I read this series. I think I've only read the whole series all the way through once. I've read The Giver so many times. I've reread it so many times. But I really want to reread the whole series. So maybe I should make like a little book club doing that. I think that could be fun. So anyway, The Giver. Please read it. It is incredible, and I feel like you will love it. I love it, so I hope that you will love it. The next book is another book that I read when I first got into reading more for my own enjoyment, and that is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. This is another book that is very special to me, and I do feel like you can kind of get the vibe of the story, or maybe you can guess what the plot is about by the title, but it's one of those stories that I feel like is so impactful to go in not knowing too much and just let the story impact you on its own, like by reading it, not so much by going in with like a preconception of what the plot is about. I know that there is a sequel. It's on my shelves. I haven't read it yet because I've been wanting to reread this one and then read that one, but I just haven't had the time. So yes, please read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven if you haven't. It is such an impactful, beautiful story, and I love it. Again, I hope you love it as well. Just gonna have to trust me. I feel like all of my videos and all of my recommendations is a trust exercise because you're trusting this person who's giving you a book recommendation. You're trusting their judgment, their recommendation, and their love for it. Tangent. The next one is The Stranger by Albert Camus. I read this last year now? No. Yeah. Was it last year? Oh my gosh. I read this last year, I believe, and it was a punch in the face. I didn't know very much about the plot at all when I first read it, and I finished reading it and I just felt like I got metaphorically punched in the face by the words in this book and by the story. It's also very short. I feel like a lot of short books you should go in not knowing too much because you know when you watch a movie trailer and the trailer just gives the whole entire plot of the movie away, and you're like, I don't feel like I need to watch the movie now because I basically just watched it in the form of the trailer. That's how I feel when you read the blurb of a small book. Or even sometimes a big book. Blurbs give too much away sometimes. But anyway, The Stranger, punch in the face. I really enjoyed it. It was really thought-provoking, and that's why I'm putting it here. The next one is a recent favorite, and that is Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukegawa. This is an incredible, again, heartwarming book that I think it's okay to know the basic plotline of this book, but there's an element of it that when I was speaking about it recently when I was reading it, there was something that I specifically didn't want to mention because I think it's something that you should really discover and learn on your own. And so again, I'm not going to mention too much about the plot. It's heartbreaking, heartwarming, sweet. It's sweet. It's just such a wonderful story, and I don't think you should know too much about it. The next one I feel like is an author that you should read all of her books without knowing anything about the plots, and that is Daphne du Maurier. Right here I have Rebecca. This is probably my favorite of the ones that I have read from her, and I don't want to call her like a psychological thriller novelist or writer because I feel like her stories are just so much more than that, but all of her stories are really exciting and thrilling to find out what's going on your own when you're reading it. There's a lot of mystery elements to it that it's exciting, like all the twists and turns. So I really love Rebecca. This is a beautiful 80th anniversary edition from Virago. It is an imprint of Little Brown Book Group, but I love this edition so much. It's gorgeous. This next one I feel like is quite a popular favorite or least favorite depending on who you are, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read this years and years and years ago. It was one of those books that I did know the basic plot, but it was so surprising. Like every single chapter, every single page left me with like a what is going on kind of look on my face and feeling, and I think, again, this is another book that it's okay to know the basic plot, but it's so crazy and dark, and there are just a lot of twists and turns, and you don't know who to trust, and it's just a very interesting story to experience. Like, this book is a very, very interesting reading experience, even if you don't like the book, even if you don't like the writing, the characters, the plot line. It's just a very interesting story to experience. I feel like this is one of those stories where you kind of have no idea how it's going to end. And I think those books are really exciting because as much as it's nice to like predict an ending or maybe like, you know, have an idea of where it'll go, it's also really thrilling and exciting to think like you are in the hands of the author. Like they're going to take you where you have no clue where you're going. You're kind of lost and they're just guiding you and you'll just see where you end up. I think that's really exciting. The next one is a heartbreaker. I will tell you that. And that is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. This is another story that has some solid trigger warnings, but I don't want to tell you what they are. So if you're curious, I would look those up. But it's a very, very impactful, heartbreaking, devastating story, and it's so, so beautifully written. And when you know a book is heartbreaking, I don't want to know how it'll break my heart. I just want it to break my heart. I want to be surprised with the emotional heartbreak of the story. And that's what this book will do to you. It'll break your heart, it'll put it back together, it will just make you feel so deeply. Thomas Hardy is an incredible classic author, and I love his books very, very much. So, highly recommend if you haven't read it. Okay, the next book is the book I'm currently reading, and if you have been here, then you know what the book is. And that is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. This book is genuinely insane. Like, it's actually crazy. I love it and I hate it all at the same exact time. I have no clue how to feel about this book because I don't want to put it down. I am really enjoying it as like a crazy reading experience, but I'm not enjoying elements of the story are very, like, they're not enjoyable. Like, no one would enjoy reading about that. It's just terrible. I knew very, very little going in, and I'm so glad that I did, because reading it is just like, excuse my French, but like, what the fuck? Like, every time I finish a chapter, and then I'll go on to Fable, because we're reading this for the Game of Tomes book club that I co-host with Emma, and if you want to join the discussion, you can join us on Fable. I will leave a link in the description box. But I love reading a chapter and then going on to Fable, and everybody's comments about this book is, what the fuck? Oh my god, what did I just read? What the hell? Like, I wish I could unread that last chapter. And I think it's hilarious. And I'm so glad we're reading this for the book club so that I can just like not be alone in all of these feelings that I'm having towards this story. And I want to recommend this to you, but I also don't want to recommend it to you because it's tons of trigger warnings. Please look those up beforehand. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I'm kind of loving it, but I'm also not loving it. I'm also kind of hating it, but I'm loving it and hating it all at the same time. And it's crazy. It's a crazy reading experience. And I think it really is one that you need to know absolutely nothing. Even if you do know something about the plot, it's still like one of those what the fuck books. Like, what's happening? Who are these people? What's going on? And I really like that because it's unlike any book I've ever read, and I think it's really exciting. That's why it's in this video. I would look up trigger warnings before this one. It's also huge, so you know, you're in it for the long haul. You want to make sure that it's something that you actually want to tackle, but it's just crazy. I think what I'm loving about it is the concept is so mind-boggling and wild, and it's just unlike anything I've ever read, and that's really exciting because I've read a ton of books now, and so I love reading books that are unlike anything I've ever read because it's just exciting. So yeah, 1Q84, what the hell? This is another one of those books that I have like no clue how it's gonna end. I have like probably just like in flames. It's just, the book itself is going to combust into flames after I read the last sentence. That's what I'm picturing. So anyway, those are all of the books. Oh gosh, should I try and hold them up like I usually do? This is just kind of a big stack. Here we go. Okay, these are all of the books that I think you should trust me to read without knowing much of the plot. I hope that you guys liked this video, liked this concept, this idea. So again, if you want a part 2, let me know. I would be excited to recommend you more books without telling you literally anything about the plot. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really, really hope that you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing what books you recommend in the comments. That is always one of my favorite things ever after I post a video, is seeing what you guys recommend in the comments. So thank you so much for doing that and for being here and for being so lovely and wonderful. I will see you very soon in another video, and as always, happy reading.